Howdy folks, and welcome back to the Adams Eats kitchen. Hope you fine folks are doing well. We had a nice weekend. Now I thought today I'd just take a little bit of a break from the Christmas recipes because that last video I went full-blown Christmas mode, alright? I just threw everything into it. You know, I don't want to do too much of it because you guys are going to get sick of it. So I just want to kind of get that nice balance. But I'm still going to do a winter recipe because, you know, it's stupidly cold at the minute. I think I read in the paper this morning it's going to get to like -12. So I thought today I'd make something warming, comforting, and that's my oxtail stew. Now if you've never tried oxtail before, it's a really soft, kind of unctuous meat. There's lots of connective tissue, so when it's cooked slowly, it's going to give you a really nice gelatinous, almost viscous feel in your mouth. It's really, really delicious, packed full of flavour, but it's really simple to cook as well. Now you can make this stew in the oven, you know, put it in a casserole dish with a lid, bang it in the oven, perfectly fine. But I'm going to do it in a slow cooker today because one of my subscribers, who was actually mentioned in the last video, Mathoni Kamani, a second shout out to you. She wanted to see some slow cooker recipes, so that's why I'm doing it this way. So let's crack on with it. If you look down below in the description, you can get a list of those ingredients. And also if you press that pause button now, you can get a list of them there as well. And the first thing we need to do is get our veg and do a bit of choppity chop. Right, okay, so I've got my veg here, got some onion, carrots and some celery, got some spices and some stock here which I'm just going to get out of the way. Now I've got a bowl here for the rubbish and I've got a plate so I can put all the chopped veg on there. Now you've seen me do this a million times before, but I'll just roughly show you again. I'm going to take the onion, take off the end, chop that in half, get that outside paper off. Once you've peeled your onion, all we're looking to do is just to chop this into fairly large chunks. Just chop it roughly. You know, this is rustic cooking as well, so you don't need to be too finicky with it. You know, that sort of size. Same with the other half. We'll get that onto the plate. And then we'll take the carrots. Now these are looking a bit rough around the edges, so I'm going to peel them, but most of the time you won't need to. Take the tops off, and then just simply slice the carrots into fairly sizable chunks because we don't want them to disappear in the finished dish. We'll get those onto the plate as well. Okay, next the celery. This is quite a fresh stick of celery, so I don't really need to peel it. Now the difference with the celery, of course, is I don't really like large chunks in my stews. So what I like to do is to just, you know, get a nice fine dice on it because I want that flavour. I just don't want large chunks of celery in there. So I'm just going to cut them down the middle and then just chop into a nice fine dice. Just like that. Again, we'll get that onto the plate. And then finally, we're going to take the garlic, bash it, peel off that paper, and then all we're going to do with that is just roughly chop it, just like so. We'll add that to the carrot, onion and celery, and that's it, that's all the chopping done now. So now what we need to do is go and have a little chat with this oxtail. Right, oxtail. Now I've got the camera quite close up because I want to show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to explain to you how we're going to turn this really cheap cut of meat into something delicious. So let's get it out of the bag. Now I've got about 600 grams here, which is enough for 2 people. But obviously if you're making it for more, then obviously just scale up the recipe. So here it is. This is the oxtail. And I'm just going to basically just talk you through what this cut of meat is and how to cook it. Because for me personally, the better you can understand your ingredients, the easier you're going to find it to cook them. And what I mean by that is that if you're a novice cook and I just handed you that piece of meat and you had no idea what it was, you're not going to have a single clue on how long to cook it for. You know, do I cook it for 2 minutes? Is it like a piece of steak? You know, do I cook it for a good few hours? You don't know. So by getting to grips and understanding what it is you're cooking, life will be a lot easier. So, oxtail, what is it? As the name suggests, it's the tail of a male cow. Now, as you can see, there's lots and lots and lots of connective tissue in here. If I just kind of hold it up to the camera, you see all these lines in here? That's all collagen and fat. Okay, and then there's obviously the tailbone there, which is full of marrow and flavour. You know, you've got that delicious meat all the way around the edge. It's got that nice coating of fat, but really, this is a very tough cut of meat, and it's going to take long, slow cooking to make it tender and juicy. But because of all this collagen that's running inside, it's going to make it really juicy and unctuous, and it'll give the finished stew a really pleasing, silky texture. So there we are, just a very quick mini masterclass in oxtail, so you can get a better understanding on how to cook it. Right, so now let's crack on and assemble this stew. Got my oxtail here, which I'm just going to get into a bowl, and then to that I'm going to add some plain flour. Don't need too much, about a heaped tablespoon. And that flour is going to do 2 things. It'll give it a nice brown crust on the outside, and it'll also help thicken the stew as well. So let's get in some pepper. Plenty of it because beef loves pepper, and just a little bit of salt. And then get your hands in and give it a good old mix up. So now they're nicely coated, we can get them in the pan. Right, so I've got my pan here, I'm going to get it onto a nice high heat, and then add a good dash of rapeseed oil, or vegetable, sunflower, whatever you've got. And once the pan is nice and hot, we can go in with our oxtail. And then like you would do with any kind of stew, is you want to get this meat nice and brown. I can't stress the importance enough. It needs to be a really nice, dark, golden brown colour. Not like you see in some programmes where they just put it in the pan for like 20 seconds and it's barely got any colour, because that nice golden crust is what's going to give you flavour and also colour as well. You know, there's no real time scale with this. You know, it's done when it's done. When it's got that nice golden colour, it's ready to go in the pot. Right, so it's been about 5 minutes now. I've taken my time and you can see how lovely and golden brown that is. Look at that crust. That's what you're looking for, that really nice dark colour. And once you've browned off the oxtail, just off camera here, I've got the inside part of my slow cooker. So I'm just going to transfer these in, and then I've turned the pan down to nice and low, so we can now add the carrot, onion, celery and garlic. Now all we're looking to do here is just to cook these out very gently, just until the onions start to go slightly soft, which should take a couple of minutes. Right, so after a few minutes, once your onions and your carrots have gone slightly soft, I'm going to add some tomato puree. You're looking for about a tablespoon. Give that a quick mix, and also add in any leftover flour that you had from dusting the oxtail. Get that in, because that's just going to help thicken up the gravy at the end. Just stir that through and cook that tomato paste out for a couple of minutes, because if you don't cook it out, what will happen is you'll get a slightly bitter taste to your finished stew, which isn't pleasant. And after a few minutes of doing that, we're just going to transfer it over to our slow cooker pot. And then in this same pan again, I'm just going to whack the heat up and then just slosh in some nice red wine. You want about 150ml, 200ml. Don't worry too much, just think of a generous glass. I mean, no one's going to argue over 50ml here, 50ml there. So all we need to do with this red wine is just bring it to a boil, reduce it a little bit. But what the most important thing it's going to do is lift off all those caramelised bits of meat juices that are all stuck to the bottom of that pan, which again is all about building layers of flavour. Okay, and once you've done that, just add that to the pot as well. Right, so we're nearly there, just got a couple of more things to do before we get this into the slow cooker. Got 2 bay leaves, which I'm just going to squeeze in my fingers to release those oils. Get those in. 1 star anise, which actually I've got 2 halves left in here, so I'm going to chuck those in. Be very careful with star anise, alright, don't go overboard with it because it's a very, very strong spice. But star anise goes really well with beef, it brings out the meaty flavours of it, and what it's going to do is just give this stew a little bit of a different flavour. Next I'm going to add a dash of Worcestershire sauce. That's just going to give a bit of astringency and cut through some of that fat. And then we'll add some beef stock. Just pour that in like that. You want roughly about 500ml. You want it so it just comes underneath the oxtail. Shimmy that around. And then lastly, I'm going to season it with a bit more pepper and a little bit of salt. Don't add too much because you can always season it more at the end. Another shimmy around. And that's it. That's all we need to do. So now we can get it in the slow cooker. Now you've got 2 options really. You can either cook it on high for about 4 or 5 hours, or you can cook it on low for about 8. Now I'm cooking this late on a Saturday night, but that's just down to how I'm filming. But in reality, what you'll probably do is do the prep at night, put it in the slow cooker, and then in the morning, before you go to work, you'll stick it on low, and then 8-9 hours later, you've got tea. You can't really overcook it. The longer you leave it, it's going to get better. But it's really late now. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to leave that on overnight. So I'll see you folks tomorrow. Right, okay, through the miracle of time, it's now Sunday morning. Actually, no, it's Sunday afternoon. I had a bit of a lie-in. Shh. Well, to be really honest, I've only actually been up about an hour. I needed some sleep. But anyway, onto the oxtail stew. I think it's ready. It's been cooking now for about 8-9 hours on nice and low. So let's go over there, have a look and see what's happened. Okay, so let's get this lid off. Oh, steam. Now you can see in here how viscous that sauce has gone. What I did is I took a tablespoon of corn flour, just let it down with a bit of water, mix that in, just to make the gravy a little bit thicker, but you can see how really nice and viscous that sauce is. And I know for a fact that oxtail is lovely and tender. You know, I can go through with it with a spoon. So that's it, it's done, it's ready to go. So I'm going to serve some of this up and we'll have a taste. Right, the first thing I'm going to do is just fill this bowl with some lovely buttery mashed potato, which is going to go really nicely with the stew. And then I'll just bring over the oxtail stew. And I'm going to grab a couple of nice pieces. I'll go for a big piece and a small piece. And then I'm going to get some of these carrots over, just scatter those around, get over some of that gravy, let it moat itself around the bottom of the bowl. And there we have it, that's the finished oxtail stew. So now I'm going to go and take the thumbnail and then we'll tuck in. Right, okay, let's dig in. Now I've got a nice close-up shot for you so you can see how tender this beef is going to be. So I don't know where to start really. We'll start with this piece. But you can see, look, how tender that is. It's just falling away from the bone. Let's go in. That's stupendous. It's melting. All that connective tissue, that collagen, is broken down, which has given the oxtail a very gelatinous, soft, silky texture, which is really pleasing in the mouth. Now, because I added the star anise, it's got a slight Asian flavour to it. And of course, folks, as I've said a million times before, that was wizard. Well, there we are, folks. Easy as that. That's my slow cooker oxtail stew. But again, you can do this in the oven, you know, stick it in a casserole dish, put a lid on it, put it in the oven for about 4 or 5 hours on nice and low, and you'll get the same result. You know, you just want to make sure that that oxtail is really nice and tender. And like I said at the beginning, by understanding and thinking about your ingredients, how to cook it, the results you'll get at the end are going to be much, much better. But anyway, I've showed you how to do it. If you've got any questions, then leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then please like and share. And also, if you'd like to subscribe, then it'd be much appreciated. But if you do decide to do that, just next to the button, there's a little bell icon. If you press that, you'll get notified every time I upload. But anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on. I'm going to wrap up this video. And if you enjoyed watching this video, then stick around because there'll be some more videos at the end. And I'll see you beautiful people next time for more tasty fun and frolics. And ta-ta for now.